Hello, this is the first non-short video for this channel, so I'm really excited to make this. Short intro, let's get it done. I'm Paige. I am currently training for a 50K race. My goal is to go from 5K to 50K with no other race format in between. And I want to take you guys on my running journey so far, and so you can see what training goes into moving up to an ultra marathon and beyond. And I really am going to make some videos talking about my running journey thus far, which leads me to today's topic, which is what I like to call challenge runs. These kind of runs can really be any kind of run that is challenging to you. For me, a challenge run is a distance or a time or a situation that I haven't done before. So it could be I'm going to go for a 5K for the first time if you've never run one before. So this concept of a challenge run, running a distance or a time you've never done before, to challenge yourself is just, I don't know what you call it, a great way to benchmark and push yourself to do something you haven't done before. I personally, my challenge runs are quite lengthy nowadays because I have been training very hard and making a ton of progress. So what my challenge run would be is very different from what, say, a beginner runner would be. A beginner runner might challenge themselves and say, I am going to run up this steep hill that is near my neighborhood. It is a mile-long hill and it is very hard to get up. Or I'm going to travel a mile on foot. I've never done that before. It can be as simple as that, or I'm going to train and try to run my first marathon. And of course, you can have a challenge run be an official race. It's really open to interpretation, and that's what I like about it, is you can kind of define it as you go. And I know my challenge runs are going to change a lot as I start getting into longer distances, and it's like you're always moving the guidepost, and there's no strict guideline. I don't have I'm going to do a challenge run every month. Since September, I've done 3. So you don't have to do them all the time. It's just like every quarter or every 6 months. Once you feel like you've made progress and you want to, challenge yourself, you have a free afternoon and you want to just see how far you can go, how fast you can go. That's like a perfect time to do a challenge run. I've done, as I mentioned, 3 so far. The first one was actually a weeknight. I had work that day and work the next day, so yeah. And I was like, I have 2 hours before I have an appointment somewhere. So I decided I'm going to try running until I hit the 10K mark. I had never run that far before. It was like mid-September, late September. I had run 3 miles. I've run 5Ks. I've run those distances. And I was like, and at that point in time, I wanted to run ultra marathons. My goal was, and still is, to run a backyard ultra by the time I'm 30. And I was dreaming of all the different race formats I could run. So I was like, if I'm going to be running ultra marathons, I have to be able to do a 10K. So I just ran around my neighborhood, and I doubled down on some streets because I didn't have a set route at that time that I knew would be 10K or close. So I ran until my fitness watch said 6.2 miles, and that's when I knew I ran 10K. It took almost 2 hours. I was miserable at the end. Like by the end of it, I was like, this is terrible. But I finished it, and a little while after the run, I was feeling great. I was like, I ran a 10K today. That's the first furthest distance I've ever run in one sitting, and that was the gateway to me exploring my neighborhood more instead of just a couple streets, and getting my runs up to 10, 11 miles for like just a regular weeknight training run. So that was really a really good training or a challenge run. And at that time, I didn't even have challenge run in my vocabulary. I was just like, I'm going to try to run a 10K. This is a challenge. And back then when training, a 10-mile run would completely wreck me. Like, I would have to hibernate that night. And I could only do 1 week on, 1 week off with training because my body just couldn't handle that volume in that distance. The second challenge run was fantastic. It was a great success. I was very tired by the end of it. And that one, I did a route that I knew was 8 miles, and I did that route twice. So that was a 16-mile run. That was the furthest distance I'd ever gone in one sitting before, and it was, I think, the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna earn that pie. But I ran. I didn't run the whole distance, but I completed 16 miles, and it took just under 4 hours for me to do. There are some gnarly hills where I live. I live in a very hilly area, and it was a complete success. I finished it, and then, you know, after that, I'm like, oh, I have to bake pie for tomorrow. So I'm baking pie, and I didn't feel the effects of this challenge run until like the next, or like 5 hours later, once the pies were all baked and the kitchen was all clean, and I sit down to rest. And then when I go to move again, my muscles were stiff because of the lactic acid buildup. But it was a success. And then my third challenge run, which I did the Friday after Christmas because I had time off, that one was terrible. It was the definition of not all runs are going to be fun. My goal was to complete a marathon. I had never run 26 miles before in my life. So I started running, and it was going great. I did try eating a bowl of oatmeal before running because carbs, you need carbs to fuel intense activity like that. My problem was I didn't wait long enough, or the oatmeal wasn't sitting well. It was the first time I've ever eaten something like that before a run. So I was nauseous, and I felt like I couldn't eat. So while I'm running, I'm not taking in the nutrition I need. I'm not eating the gels. I had energy bars. I couldn't eat those. It was just, and drinking water was like even a struggle. And about 8 miles in, I hit the pain cave for the first time ever. Every step I took was agony, and it was like 30 degrees outside. It was my first time running in sub-freezing temperatures. And of course, no one in my neighborhood cleared their sidewalks, so I was avoiding ice slicks all over the place. And I ended up getting blisters on my feet, which that wasn't a new development. I've gotten them plenty, and I can run through that, but it felt like there was something sharp poking at the side of my foot, which was bothering me. It wasn't like pain, it was just annoying. And all of that, and I felt like I got like 17 miles in, and I couldn't run anymore. Normally I can power through, but like every time I started running, I would have to start coughing because of the cold. So I decided to give up and go home. I went for about 5 hours. Yeah, I think about 5 hours. And in that 5 hours, I did 18.4 miles. So I wouldn't call it a successful challenge run since I didn't hit the distance I wanted to, but it is still successful in the fact that it was the furthest I've ever run in my life. It was the hardest run, and that I kept powering through. So it was a great learning experience. And since then, I have run outside in 30-degree heat, sub-freezing heat, or temperature. I guess it's not heat, it's cold. It's the lack of heat. But I ran in that, and I did develop a slight cough the next day, which if you're running in sub-freezing temperatures, that's, from my understanding, normal. It should go away fairly quickly. And I hadn't run again outside for months. I'd been running on the treadmill in the gym, and I just got fed up with the treadmill. I hate the treadmill. But long tangent aside, it helped me understand how my body mechanically works in the cold, how warming up is important with those cold temperatures, and that having how many layers I would need in that kind of weather. And it really helped future runs, and I will be taking that into consideration, especially since after the 50K I want to run, there is an 8-hour race where you have to run as many loops as you can in 8 hours, and that's in December. So the moment I finish my 50K, I'm registering for that 8-hour race, and I'm calling it now. We're gonna get sub-freezing temperatures. I swear it's gonna be like blizzarding on the day of the race. It would be just my luck. But yeah, that's my concept of a challenge run. Just run a distance or a time that you haven't done before, or run in a situation you haven't run before, to challenge yourself, challenge your body, challenge your mind, and break through the wall or the glass ceiling or whatever you want to call it of what you think is possible, and push forward to really just improve. It's like a great way of getting like writer's block, but runner's block. You go, I just ran 10 miles. I'd never done that before, and it feels great. It's a great concept. I absolutely love the idea. I don't do them all the time. My next one is going to be a Friday in April, and that is going to be my first time running 8 hours. I will be documenting it for you guys, so you will get to see the roller coaster of emotions, the countless carb-heavy snacks I will be eating, and hopefully some pretty views or interesting things on the trail. So, with that being said, hopefully you like the idea of a challenge run and decide to go on one yourself, or maybe you have been doing this and just didn't have a word for it. I don't know if it's a thing in the running community, but it's something I like to do and all that fun stuff. So thank you if you made it this far for watching, and please consider subscribing. I am really excited to share my fitness and health journey with you guys, and my running. That has been a key part of my life, and I'd love to document how just your regular person working a 9-to-5 can go run ultra marathons and really do stuff like that, you know? All right, thank you again, and have a good one.